So, dear friends, the Lenten season is started, and we have had our foreheads smeared with ashes. And so, these 40 days are going to be a very special day. As I've told last time, it need not be a negative experience of that we have to give up, we have to fast, we can't do this, we can't do that. On the other hand, it could be a positive experience of grabbing opportunities in order to good and also to avoid evil. The message of the first Sunday of Lent is very, very beautiful. In fact, it touches the core of our personality. The Lenten season is meant to bring us closer to God. And it can bring us closer to God only if we give up sin, if we are far away from sin. Because God and Satan don't mix. The sin, or perhaps the slavery to sin, is something that we have to get out of. We have to be free, we have to be independent, and that is God's grace. And that is what Lenten season is meant to help us discern what is evil and choose what is good. As I was saying, the gospel and the readings are beautiful. The sense of sin, the sense of guilt, the sense of weakness, the sense of defeat and perhaps slavery into sin also. And Jesus himself experienced it. Imagine Jesus, who is above sin. The book of Hebrews says he was like us in all things except sin. But the sinful experience, or perhaps the sinful surroundings, were always there for him. And so today's gospel speaks of the three temptations of Jesus. We can summarize the sum total of all the sins and all the temptations. We can in a way list them into these three ones. And if we are able to understand these three temptations and also get over them, perhaps we will have done much in this Lenten season. So what are those three temptations? The first temptation is called the temptation of bread, or perhaps the temptation of security. The Gospel of Matthew chapter 4 verse 1 to 11 explains beautifully these three temptations, and as I said, the first temptation of the bread or security. Now what does it mean? First of all, everyone needs to live, needs to subsist, needs to eat and drink. We are not robots to say that perhaps some electrical charge here, there, enough to keep us. We need to eat, we need to drink, we need to subsist. There are so many things that we depend upon. There are so many things that we look perhaps are indispensable in our life. I say indispensable. Can you do without your food? You say no. Can you do without your drink for a few days? No. Can you drink perhaps without some little basic comforts or conveniences? No. So therefore, Jesus asks us, what is the biggest priority in your life? What's the biggest priority in your life? Is it only eating and drinking? Is it only about your life? And so the devil taking charge of this situation and seeing that Jesus has fasted for 40 days and perhaps is very hungry, he comes with this beautiful suggestion that Jesus could work miracles with those stones that were there and convert them into bread and eat it. But Jesus doesn't fall for it. He says, of course, bread is important, the drink is important, there are so many things that are important, but then the Word of God surpasses everything. And Jesus' beautiful answer to the devil, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes out of the mouth of God. Perhaps we can ask ourselves, what do I depend upon? Where does my security lie? Perhaps on my earthly things, my house, my food, my things, Or perhaps I can rise above and say that God is above all these things. The second temptation is called the temptation of the miracles. Miracles. It's very simple. The devil takes Jesus to the pinnacle of the temple, the highest place. And there from the pinnacle he shows him everything. And he says, see, you are on the pinnacle now. The people are down there, perhaps in the courtyard of the temple. But suppose you jump from here, what an impact it's going to make. That someone jumped from on top and nothing happen to you, because it can't happen to you, because God will send his angels to raise their hands to lift you up, and therefore nothing will happen to you. On the other hand, the impact of this event would be earth shaking, because as it is, you are a carpenter's son. Who will look at you? Who will listen to you? But then when you do some miracles, all the people will come to you. And so it's so simple. Perhaps the devil seems to be giving an answer, or rather a suggestion for the spreading of the kingdom of God. And that's what Jesus came for. But Jesus doesn't fall for it. Once again, he says, do not test or do not tempt your God, because God's ways are not man's ways. The book of Psalms says, Isaiah also, that our thoughts are not God's thoughts, and our plans, our programs are not plans. So therefore, God rises above us. I was saying about miracles, why we call them miracles. Because many in our life, perhaps I also don't believe sometimes in the solutions that can God give us. I would like something out of the way. Sometimes we even say that, why does God not redeem me from this situation? I would have done much better. Why do I miracles? In Jesus' own life, perhaps that was the temptation, that he was born poor. Why didn't Mary perhaps make a prayer to God to say that this is the Son of God and therefore he can't live in a cowshed? May there be presented here a big house or palace, and so many others. When Jesus is on the cross, there's a centurion or perhaps his enemies who say that, why don't you come down? You can come down, you can surprise everybody. You need not hang and cry on the cross. So this is a constant temptation for us, not to accept the ordinary, but always seek for the extraordinary. What is ordinary? Everything of our life. I go to my family. Perhaps my wife is sick. She's sick most of the time. Or perhaps my husband is not able to earn what we need in the family. Perhaps my children are dull. I don't say dull, but they can't study. I can't solve this problem. And therefore, I ask for miracles. But God is patient. God knows what is best for us. God knows perhaps how to get out of the solution. And for Jesus, if the solution was that he should die on the cross, there's no miracle. The miracle comes only after his death and resurrection. But that is the way the world looks at it. The world of glamour, the world of surprises, the world of miracles, the world of perhaps what we call the world of the extraordinary. But to live your humdrum life, to live your life of poverty, to walk long miles in order to reach your goals, that perhaps is not the world is looking for. The world is looking for miracles. Even in our spiritual life, there are many people who go for some retreats and some recollections and some places because they are promised that there will be some miracles, that you will be healed, that you will be able to get what you want in your mind. There's nothing wrong in praying to God. Our God is not a sadistic God. Our God is one who wants us to enjoy and perhaps be happy. And therefore, if it is God's will that God lifts me up from this sickness, I pray very earnestly. If God helps me solve this problem of perhaps my loans or something else, very nice. But remember Jesus at Gethsemane. He says, Father, if it is your will, take away this chalice. Take away this chalice. Jesus himself prayed, There's nothing wrong in us asking God to take away this chalice, this suffering, this sickness from us. But if it's your will be done. Your will be done. And that is submitting ourselves. And therefore, Jesus tells the devil, do not tempt the Lord your God. And the third temptation, let us call it the temptation of idols. Idols. You know what is idols? We have many idols today. Perhaps some of the actors are some big idols, some of the musicians, or perhaps some other things also could be idols for us. And therefore Jesus is taken this time into the top of a mountain, and the devil shows him everything, the whole world, the beautiful nature, the beautiful sunrise, the beautiful cities, the beautiful houses. And he says, everything I will give it to you, only if you prostrate before me, only if you bow before me. You know what a simple answer it is. If Jesus were to bow at him, the devil says he gives everything. I don't know if it belongs to the devil, but then that's what he says. And what is the answer that Jesus gives? Jesus gives, you shall love, you shall adore your God alone. You shall pay homage to God alone and nobody else in your life. And therefore we can ask ourselves, where do I bow myself? To whom do I bow myself? To which thing perhaps I bow myself? You know, maybe there is one idol, or there are many idols in our life. There are many idols. Where we go and bow, it's more important. It's something that we are so obsessed with it. It has become such a part of our life that we will not be able to give it up. And that may be the hindrance for me in order to come closer to God. Because if I am in love with something or someone much more than my God, how much time would I give to that person or perhaps to God? Surely the one whom I adore, the one who is I am obsessed with, perhaps will get more attention. And in my life, I can ask, what am I obsessed with? Is it money? There are some there are some people who are crazy for money. Of course, we need money for many things. Without money, perhaps we may not be able to do many things. But then, to amass wealth and wealth and wealth and wealth. Perhaps some have got a craze for certain of their habits. I drown myself in drinks, or perhaps lustful thoughts and lustful persons that I go after. Perhaps there are many things in my life for which I am obsessed to certain things. You know, even it could be a small thing. I know that a mobile itself could be a thing that I bow before. I would lose anything in my life but not my mobile, because all my secrets are in that mobile. Or perhaps sometimes it can happen, it could be the persons in your family. I love my wife so much that I would give up everything, even my God, because I love my life. It's nice that you love your persons in your life, the husband, some children. You know, sometimes the children also become idols. That the people forget all their values in order to protect this idol of obsession. You shall adore the Lord your God alone. So as I was saying, my dear friends, that these three temptations are sum total of all the sins and temptations for us. And the Lenten season is a beautiful time for us to think how much of myself I am obsessed with these things. The temptation of bread, security. Where do I find my security? What miracles that I am looking out for and praying for also. Sometimes we pray for. I say there's nothing wrong in praying for, but then sort of becoming insane to say that God should give me. And God, if He does not give me this, He is no God at all. And so also the idols. What are the things that in my life are so perhaps important that I shut out my God? These are the beautiful reflections that we can make today on the first Sunday of the Lenten season, so that we can carry on this meditation, this reflection all over the Lenten season. My dear friends, I take you to one of the tragic situations that the world is facing today. You may be reading the papers and the terrible earthquake that is taking place, that took place, but we are told that seismic, those tremors are going on and doing a lot of damage in Turkey and Syria. Turkey and Syria. These are two countries in the desert land. Perhaps Muslims are more dominated there, but that does not mean anything. Humanity, when it's in crisis, it's the human beings that we have to reach out to. So therefore, the tragedy has been terrible. As we see in the papers, almost 50,000 people are dead, buried. And in between you get those beautiful stories. They said they dug up somewhere after about 5 days and they found a person that was just sort of hunchbacked like that. And they said, of course, he's dead. We have to remove his corpse. When they are trying to pull out his body, what do they find? There's a child underneath. He was protecting the child and he didn't mind, as it were, to be bent in that way so the slab that was on top falls on him, but he protects the child. Fortunately, the good news is the child, even after 5 days, was alive. There are so many, what we call the human stories, even in these tragedies. And so, 50,000 people dead. Maybe more than 4,000 houses demolished, completely demolished. You can imagine the people that are alive today have no house to go back to. So in these tragedies, we also have to reach out. And Archdiocese of Bangalore has always reached out in such tragedies in the past. And we have thought of the others much more than ourselves. So I have made an appeal. In fact, on the Ash Wednesday, I told our priests who came for a meeting on the previous day that the Ash Wednesday collection, which would be an immediate support or relief that we could give, that we could send this collection to Caritas India, and Caritas India will send it to Syria through some means. Perhaps it's not much, but then it's our gesture, it's our solidarity. I always say, someday these things can happen to us. We are good today, we are safe today, we are protected today. Even Corona, perhaps we have come out of it today. But we can't say that it won't happen to us. And when it does happen, this cycle of charity, we call it, when I help others, the others will surely help us. They will help us. And therefore, the Caritas India also has put out an appeal, which we have carried out in our own BMS's Disaster Relief Fund. There is a clip that is shown to you, and you can also contribute throughout this Lenten season, or perhaps even otherwise, for these people who are suffering, who are trying to find some meaning and subsistence in these tragedies of the earthquake that has taken place in Syria and Turkey. Be generous, be help a little. God will bless you in these charities. I take you to another happy event in our Archdiocese in the last week. In fact, last Sunday, I was there also. What we call the first anniversary of CAAB, the Catholic Association of the Archdiocese of Bangalore. Short form is CAAB. It was started last year. It's 1 year now. Perhaps just as I told them in my speech that day, just a 1-year-old baby, just crawling. They have been able to form units in about 10 parishes, and the Catholic Association is an association of the laity, where the priests, perhaps even the bishop and the archbishop, stands at the sidelines in order to be a spiritual guide, that's all. But this particular association run by the office bearers who are persons of repute, who are persons who are involved, and especially in organizing the people and empowering the laity. Basically, we say that the Catholic Association is different from the Parish Pastoral Council. The Parish Pastoral Council is a supreme body in the parish which is elected, there are some who are ex officio, there are some who are nominated, and this particular parish council takes care of all the matters of the parish, especially the internal matters of the parish, internal matters of the church. But there are many things that, as Christians, that touch us from outside. For example, my housing, my food, my elections, my cards that will give me help and support, perhaps the old age card, or perhaps the cards of course called the Aadhaar card. These things perhaps the church cannot strictly take into consideration because we have the priority of serving the church and the matters of the church. But the Catholic Association, I'm trying to say that the Catholic Association, the arena of the Catholic Association is outside the church. All that benefits that the people can get outside the church, for example, forming themselves into a collective, forming themselves in an association in order to support certain causes, to educate the people about elections, the politics and politicians, getting them an election card or perhaps revising it, the Aadhaar card, the old age card, the election card. There are so many things that the Catholic Association members can do together. And therefore, I also, when I am addressing you, I request that the parish priests open up Catholic Association units in the parishes of the Archdiocese, starting with the city parishes where there are many people who can give a little more, what we say, walk the extra mile for the sake of the laity, to empower the laity, to organize the laity. Whenever we have some certain issues that pertain to our church, pertain to our social life, pertain to our rights as Christians, our minority rights, or perhaps even our fundamental rights, or even what we call this particular struggle that we had when the bill of anti-conversion was passed. The laity are nowhere. Perhaps I represent, some priests represent, and the people say that, yeah, bishop can come, priests can come, but where are our people? And so it's good that the people themselves organize and take these issues ahead. And therefore, I congratulate all the office bearers of the Catholic Association of the Archdiocese of Bangalore that has stood for 1 year, that may they increase and progress and multiply the units and the members. Reverend Father Sebastian Arukya Swami, the parish priest of Begur and Dean also, he is the spiritual director. He, along with Father Lucas, a young priest, are guiding the units to go and be open along with the main office bearers. I wish you well. I have said that this year, the year 2023, is going to be the year of the family. The year of the family. We are going to have a closer look at our families. We are going to spend more time in our families. We are going to surely pray together, eat together, and enjoy together as a family. And so family is perhaps the most important theme that we have taken. We have advised our priests and religious to visit the families, to go and see the people in their houses, which is very important, along with perhaps certain other people that they can take along. But most important is to be aware of the problems of the families, to be aware of the potential of the families and the joy of the families. This is what we have to be aware. And for that, we have to perhaps seek and seize occasions. Perhaps daddy and mommy are free, the children at home. Why don't we go out, have a nice picnic? We can go out with the children. Spending quality time with your family is a quality investment. There are many people who think that if I get more and more money, why I should be with the family? If I spend this much of time again in my office or in my workplace, I can get more money. I can buy one more perhaps vehicle, or perhaps I can build a bigger house. A time comes, you have bought so many things, you have got so many gadgets, but who is there to enjoy? The older people are already grumbling. We made all this for our children, but our children are nowhere. They have gone far away, and we are sometimes in the old age homes. So therefore, the family values. What I was trying to say was, there is a beautiful film called Appearance. Perhaps you'll see this clip on the board. And this film is about the family values. It has been produced by Christians from our Archdiocese. Beautiful that they thought of it to produce this film, and not just, I would say, they call it masala film of fighting and dancing and some entertainment we need. But these people didn't go for that temptation to produce, I would say, a film that is just only an entertainer. This film is of values, family values, especially how you respect your elders in your family, how you perhaps love them, how you take care of them, or is it that perhaps we have discarded them? We don't want the old people. We don't want the senior citizens. I don't want to listen to sermons of my dad and my granddad. That age is over. I'm in a new age, maybe, or may not be. So therefore, this film is a beautiful movie, and I have told our priests to call, or rather to show this film to your people. Perhaps we can make some small collections and see that everyone sees it in this year of the family, which will consolidate also our values of the families, especially as we consider the old, the sick, the marginalized, the perhaps bedridden persons in our own houses. I now go to the question. Once again, I say it's a very tricky question. Sometimes I am stumped by these questions, but it makes us think also that the people are also sort of wanting to ask questions, and I have to be ready to answer them. This question is about a different thing. It's not exactly regarding our family, regarding the church, but something that is used in the church, what we call incense. The incense, you know what's an incense? And the two questions are, can you please explain the various uses of incense in the church? And secondly, why is incense used only during certain high feast masses and not during Sunday Mass? First of all, what is incense? You know, the word incense, incendium, the Latin, perhaps the Italian word also, it means to burn incense. You know, we also know, why do you incense me with this? Why do you incense him? The word is burning. The burning, and therefore the incense proper is burning of perhaps some aromatic herbs or wood, or perhaps certain materials put together, some wax or some gum, that gives a smell. It's meant to give an aromatic smell. So therefore incense is used in many places, of course in the holy places and also in otherwise. You know that sometimes we put a incense stick to ward off mosquitoes, or perhaps sometimes we put this one to give a nice smell, fragrance around. And so also in our holy places, in every religion, incense is used for the holy purpose. First of all, to burn it before the deity, the God, the saints, or perhaps in the altar, and at the same time the aroma that comes around is not stifling, but something that is pleasant for us. The first question is, what is the use of? Can you explain the various uses of the incense in the church? Basically, there are two uses. The first use is, I would say that, incense, the smoke goes up, 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 up. That is a sign and symbol of our life. I can't burn myself, but I burn incense that stands for me, and as it burns and as the smoke goes out, I say that my own heart is raised up to God. My own little offering is raised up to God. And therefore, this is first of all surrendering of ourselves in a symbolic way, the burning of the incense and the smoke that goes up to offer to God. The second meaning is also paying homage, respect, glory, honor to a person or to a saint, to the Blessed Sacrament, etc. The one way of paying homage is to offer the incense, to incense a person, to do the arati, to say that you are something greater than me, or rather you represent something that is great for me. And therefore when we incense the holy things and holy persons, we also pay homage to them. So in that sense, the incense has got a very spiritual meaning, at the same time, an aromatic sense that is given, smell that is given around. And we pay homage to God. The second question is, why is incense used only during certain high feast masses and not Sunday Mass? As it is said in the question, it is used in our masses and our solemnities, at the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, at the funerals, at certain blessings it is used. And therefore these occasions are special occasions when perhaps we use this incense, and as I said, the two values that we give of offering up ourselves and also giving honor to God is depicted in these our signs and symbols. For example, at every solemnity, we use the incense at the entrance. We use the incense when perhaps we have to read the gospel. We incense the gospel or the holy book. We incense sometimes the offertory time. And so these are the times that we use incense to make it solemn and to give the people a sign and symbol of our obedience to God. Why is it not used during Sundays? Technically or ideally, the incense can be used at all the masses, at every mass if possible. But then sometimes perhaps when things are done so often, they lose their meaning. When they are done sometimes, perhaps the meaning is retained. And therefore there's nothing wrong in doing on Sundays also, but it's not done sometimes maybe not to prolong the Mass a little. No, most of our Sunday Mass, especially in the cities, it is just cut and celebrate. It's meaning to say it is a 6 o'clock Mass, you have to finish by 7 because the people are waiting there. You have to finish the 7 o'clock Mass by 8 o'clock, people are waiting there. And so because of these, perhaps we don't want to take it every day, but on days of obligation, days of solemnities, and the occasions when the incense has to be used. And the incense, as I said, is a sign and symbol of our own life and obedience to God in the highest glory.
My dear friends, I'm sure you have witnessed the shepherd's voice which is being presented by our beloved Archbishop, Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, the Archbishop of Bangalore, who takes so much of interest and concern in order to bring the various topics, the contextual aspects, in order to inform, educate, and catechize all of us, the priests, the religious, and faithful of this vast archdiocese. And I'm sure you are enjoying this program, Shepherd's Voice, and I request each one of you to share with your other colleagues, friends, and family and relatives, near and dear ones, so that everyone in this archdiocese can be more closer to listen to the Archbishop on this Shepherd's Voice, the weekly feature. My dear friends, as I've always told, that this is a wonderful platform wherein we can connect to the shepherd of this archdiocese, wherein he brings in the interesting topics in order to increase our devotion and love towards God, and also to know the spiritual matters that concerns our faith. In a very special way, you are most welcome to ask your questions, queries, and you can send them to us at archdblr@gmail.com, and you will also see our mobile number in and through which you can connect with our media center, Ave Studios, and the Archdiocesan Communication Center. Please do write to us your feedback, your opinions. Thank you. Continue to watch and continue to share with others.